He thought he had already won. The house, the money, everything. But what he didn't know, I had already started something. Something quiet, something patient, and something that would slowly take everything back, without him ever realizing who did it. People think revenge is loud, screaming, fighting, breaking things, but the most dangerous kind is the one that waits. And I had plenty of time to wait. It all started after everything fell apart. We moved to a new state, a new house, a new life. My mom called it a fresh start, but I knew better. Because the moment he walked in, I felt it. That fake smile, that fake kindness, the kind of person who pretends to care, while already planning how to control everything. I never liked him, but my mom, she was tired, broken, and desperate to believe someone could fix things. So she married him. At first, it was small things, little comments. Why is your daughter always on that computer? Maybe she should focus on something useful. Then it got worse. Rules started appearing out of nowhere. Restrictions, arguments, silence at dinner. And then one day, I saw my mom crying in the kitchen, quietly, so quietly, like she didn't want the house to hear. That's when I knew. This wasn't a fresh start. It was a mistake. A few weeks later, everything changed. He was angry. I don't even remember what started it, but I remember what he did. He walked into my mom's room, went straight to her computer, and ripped it apart. While it was still on, the sound, I can still hear it. A sharp crack, like something important just died. That computer wasn't just a machine. It had her work, her memories, her life. And just like that, gone. He didn't even care. He just walked away like nothing happened. That was the moment. Not anger, not yelling, not tears, just clarity. I wasn't going to fight him. I wasn't going to argue. I was going to do something better, something smarter, something he would never expect. See, there was one thing he didn't understand. He thought I was just a kid, but my dad taught me everything about computers, how they work, how they break, and how small things can cause big problems. In my room, there was his old computer. He used it before moving everything downstairs. And one night, I found something, hidden deep inside, a dormant file, the kind that doesn't act immediately. It waits, just like I planned to. I didn't rush. I studied it, learned what it touched, what it affected, how it spread. And then I prepared something simple. An old USB MP3 stick. Broken, useless, forgettable, perfect. Step by step, I moved the right files. Carefully, quietly, no mistakes. Then one afternoon, when the house was empty, I walked downstairs, plugged it in, and left it there, blending in, like it belonged. And then, I did nothing. No panic, no checking, just waited. Because the best kind of revenge is when they walk into it themselves. 3 days later, he came to my door. For the first time ever. He sounded nervous. Hey, can you take a look at my computer? I almost smiled. Because I already knew everything. Before all this, I had already seen what was on his system. Every file, every email, every secret he thought was hidden. The lies, the betrayal, the things he was doing behind my mom's back. He wasn't just a bad person. He was worse. I sat down at his computer, acted confused, clicked around slowly, let him watch me figure it out. Then I fixed his antivirus, and right on time, it detected the problem. Too late. Way too late. The damage had already started. Files were breaking, systems failing, errors building up one by one. I looked at him and said, "I think it's already too far gone." And for the first time, he looked powerless. Within weeks, everything collapsed. The marriage, the house, his control. He left. Just like that. Months later, I found that old USB stick again. Scratched. Broken. I held it for a moment, then threw it away, because I didn't need it anymore. The damage was already done. But that wasn't the end, because before he left, he took something with him, something he thought I didn't notice, and that mistake was about to cost him everything. He thought leaving was the end, like he could just walk away, start over, and everything he did would stay buried. But he forgot one thing. I don't forget, and more importantly, I don't leave things unfinished. At first, everything was quiet, too quiet. The house felt different without him, lighter, but also strange, like something unresolved was still sitting in the corners. My mom tried to move on. She smiled more, talked about rebuilding, but I could see it, that hesitation, that fear that somehow he wasn't really gone. And she was right, because a few days after he left, I noticed something small. Something most people would ignore. One of the storage boxes in the garage was missing. Not everything, just one. At first, I didn't think much of it, until I remembered what used to be inside. Documents, old backups, and most importantly, one external drive. My mom's data. The same data he destroyed on her computer. Or at least, that's what he thought. That's when it hit me. He didn't just want to hurt her. He wanted control. Even after leaving, I didn't say anything to my mom. Not yet. Because if I was right, this wasn't over. This was just his next move. So I went back to the only place that still had answers. His old computer. The one I had already used once. Most people would have stopped there. But I didn't. Because revenge isn't just about reacting. It's about staying ahead. I powered it on again. Slow. Careful. The system was damaged, but not dead. And inside it, there were still pieces left. Fragments. Logs. History. Enough to tell a story. And that's when I found it. A folder I hadn't noticed before. Hidden deeper than the rest. Locked. Protected. He thought he covered everything, but he underestimated something simple. He reused a pattern, the same kind of password structure. And once I noticed it, it didn't take long. When it opened, I didn't react at first. I just stared. Emails, screenshots, records, backups of things he had no reason to keep, except leverage, except control, except insurance. He wasn't just planning to leave. He was planning to come back. In a different way. I leaned back in my chair, and for the first time since he left, I smiled. Because now, I wasn't just reacting anymore. Now I had everything, but I still didn't move. Not yet, because timing matters, and I needed to know one thing first. What he was going to do next. A week passed. Nothing. Then another. Still nothing. And just when I started to think maybe I was wrong, it happened. A message. Not to me. To my mom. I saw her reading it, her hands slightly shaking, her face losing color. And without even seeing the screen, I already knew. He was trying to pull her back in. Threats. Pressure. Something to make her feel like she had no choice. That's how people like him work. They don't let go. They just change tactics. That night, she didn't say anything. But I didn't need her to. I had already decided. This time, I wasn't just going to stop him. I was going to end it. Completely. No second chances. No coming back. I went back to the computer, opened everything again, and started organizing, sorting, building something bigger. Because information alone isn't power. What you do with it is. I created copies. Multiple. Separated. Safe. Then I started connecting things. Dates. Names. Patterns. And slowly, a bigger picture started forming. Something he never expected anyone to see. Something that could destroy more than just his reputation. I sat there for hours. Silent. Focused. And when I finally leaned back, it was done. But the best part, I still hadn't made a single move. Because just like before, he was going to walk into this himself. A few days later, another message came. This time louder. More aggressive. He thought pressure would break her. He thought fear would control her. But what he didn't realize, every message he sent was giving me exactly what I needed. Proof, pattern, intent. And then, he made a mistake. A small one. But enough. He sent something he shouldn't have. Something that crossed a line. And the moment I saw it, I knew. This was it. No more waiting. No more watching. I took everything I had built. Every file. Every record. Every piece of truth he tried to hide. And I prepared it. Not for him. For everyone else. Because the worst thing you can do to someone like him isn't to fight them. It's to expose them. But I didn't send it yet. Not immediately. Because there was one last thing I needed. One last step. One final piece. And the way he was acting, I knew he was going to give it to me. All I had to do was wait a little longer. Because this time, he wasn't just losing control. He was walking straight into something he wouldn't recover from. And trust me, what happened next wasn't just revenge. It was the end of everything he thought he could hide. And he had no idea. It had already begun. He thought pressure would break her. That if he pushed hard enough, she'd come back. But he didn't understand something simple. Fear works both ways. And this time, he was the one about to feel it. I didn't rush. I never do. Because the difference between a mistake and a plan is patience. He kept messaging her, calling, switching numbers, acting desperate one moment, aggressive the next. And every single time, I saved it. Every word, every threat, every slip. Because people like him, they don't realize when they're exposing themselves. They think they're in control, right until they aren't. One night, he called again, louder than before. I could hear his voice from the other room, angry, demanding, trying to pull her back in. And for a second, I saw it again, that fear in her eyes, that hesitation, like she was about to give in. That's when I stepped in. I didn't say much. I just took the phone and ended the call. Calm, simple, controlled. Then I looked at her and said, "He only has power if you let him." She didn't respond, but I could tell something shifted. And that was enough, because now it was my turn. I went back to my room, locked the door, opened everything I had collected, and started building the final version. Not just files anymore, not just evidence, a story, a timeline, something clear, something undeniable. Because if I was going to end this, it had to be perfect. Every message connected, every action linked, every lie exposed. Hours passed, then more, until finally, it was ready. But I still didn't send it. Not yet, because I knew something. He wasn't done. And if I waited just a little longer, he'd make one last mistake. And he did. 2 days later, another message came. But this one was different. It wasn't just a threat. It was specific. Careless. He mentioned something he should have never said. Something that confirmed everything. And the moment I read it, I didn't hesitate. This was it. I made copies, backups of everything, multiple places, nothing left to chance. Then I chose where it would go. Not just one place, several. Places that mattered. Places that wouldn't ignore it. Because silence protects people like him. And I was done with silence. I sat there for a moment, looking at the screen. Everything ready. One click away. And I thought about my mom. The way she cried in the kitchen. The way she stayed quiet. The way she tried to survive something she didn't deserve. Then I clicked send. No drama. No announcement. Just done. At first, nothing happened. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Then suddenly, everything started moving. Messages. Calls. Not from him. From others. Confused. Asking questions. Reacting. And just like that, control shifted. Because now, he wasn't the one hiding things anymore. He was the one being questioned. I didn't answer anyone. I didn't need to. The truth was already out there. And truth doesn't need defending. That night, for the first time in a long time, the house felt quiet. Not heavy. Not tense. Just peaceful. But it didn't last long. Because the next day, he called again. Different tone this time. No anger. No confidence. Just panic. I didn't pick up. Of course I didn't. Because now he understood something he never expected. He wasn't in control anymore. And for someone like him, that's the worst feeling in the world. Days passed. Then weeks. And slowly, everything around him started falling apart. People pulling away. Questions increasing. Things he thought were buried. Coming back up. One by one. Piece by piece. Exactly how I planned it. I never confronted him. Never argued. Never even spoke to him again. Because I didn't need to. The truth was doing all the work for me. And honestly, that was the most satisfying part. But here's the thing. I thought that was the end. I really did. Until one day, something unexpected happened. A knock on the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. My mom wasn't either. And the moment I opened it, everything changed. Because standing there was someone I didn't recognize, holding something in their hand. something that belonged to him, something that shouldn't have been here. And the moment I saw it, I realized something. This wasn't over. Not even close. Because whatever he had started was bigger than I thought. And now, it was coming back, right to our door. I opened the door, and for a second, neither of us spoke. He stood there, unfamiliar, calm, but not casual. Like he had a reason to be here. Like he'd already decided he wasn't leaving without saying what he came to say. In his hand was a small envelope, worn at the edges, sealed, and somehow it felt heavier than it looked. "Are you?" he asked, saying my name carefully. I nodded. He looked past me for a moment, then back again. "I think this belongs to you. Or your mom." Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten. I took the envelope. "Who are you?" I asked. He hesitated, then said quietly, "Someone who used to work with him." That was enough. I didn't ask anything else. I just thanked him and closed the door, locked it, turned around slowly. My mom was already watching me. "Who was it?" she asked. "I don't know," I said honestly. "But this is from him." We both looked at the envelope. Neither of us moved. Because deep down, we both knew whatever was inside wasn't going to make things easier. I opened it carefully. Inside, a USB drive and a folded piece of paper. Simple. No name. No explanation. Just one line written on it. "You don't know everything." For a moment, everything went quiet again. But this time, it wasn't peaceful. It was something else. Something heavier. I looked at my mom. She didn't say anything, but I could see it. That same fear trying to come back. And that's when I knew, whatever this was, I had to handle it. I took the USB, went to my room, closed the door, sat down, and just stared at it for a few seconds. Because this wasn't part of my plan. And things outside the plan, they're dangerous. Still, I plugged it in. The screen lit up. One folder. No name. No organization. Just files. A lot of them. At first glance, they didn't make sense. Different dates. Different formats. Random pieces. But as I opened them, something started to form. A pattern. And the more I looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't just about us. Not even close. There were other names, other people, other situations. Similar. Too similar. Messages. Records. Proof of things that shouldn't exist. Things he had done, not just to my mom, but to others. And suddenly, everything felt different. Because this wasn't revenge anymore. This was something bigger. Something darker. Something that had been going on for a long time. I leaned back slowly, processing it, because now, the situation had changed. Completely. Before, I was dealing with one person, one problem, one target. Now, this was a pattern. And patterns don't stop on their own. I went through more files, carefully, taking my time, and then I found something that made me freeze. A file with a recent date. Very recent. I opened it, and my heart dropped. Because this time, it wasn't about the past. It was current, active, and whoever sent this USB, they weren't just warning me. They were showing me something still happening. I stood up immediately, went to my mom. She looked at my face and knew. "What is it?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I just handed her the screen. Let her see it herself. Seconds passed. Then she stepped back, like she needed distance from it. This isn't over, is it?" she whispered. I shook my head. "No." And for the first time, I said something I hadn't said before. "This isn't just about us anymore." That changed everything, because now, walking away wasn't an option. Ignoring it wasn't an option. And staying quiet, definitely not an option. I went back to my room, sat down again, and started thinking, not emotionally, not impulsively, strategically, because whatever came next had to be bigger than what I did before. Smarter, cleaner, final. I gathered everything, my files, the USB files, combined them, compared them, connected them, and the more I worked, the clearer the picture became. This wasn't random. This wasn't isolated. This was a system, and systems can be broken, but only if you hit them in the right place. I didn't move immediately. Not this time, because now the risk was higher. The stakes were higher, and one mistake could ruin everything. So I waited, watched, analyzed, until finally I saw it, the weak point, the one thing holding everything together. And once that goes, everything falls. I leaned back, exhaled slowly, and for the first time since opening that door, I felt something familiar again, control. But this time, it wasn't just about revenge. It was about ending something that should have never existed in the first place. I looked at the screen one last time. Everything ready, everything in place. And this time, there was no hesitation, because what I was about to do wasn't just going to change his life. It was going to expose everything. But right before I moved, one thought crossed my mind. What if he knew this would happen? What if this USB wasn't a warning, but a setup? I paused, just for a second, because if that was true, then I wasn't the only one making a move. And whatever came next was going to be bigger than anything before. And trust me, that's where everything finally breaks. I didn't move. Not immediately, because that one thought kept repeating in my head. What if this wasn't a warning? What if it was a trap? I looked at the screen again. Every file, every detail, every connection I had just built. It all made sense. Too much sense. And that's what bothered me. People like him don't just hand over everything. Not unless they think they're still in control. So I slowed down, checked everything again, file by file, metadata, dates, hidden traces, and then I saw it. Something small, almost invisible, a tiny inconsistency, one file that didn't match the rest. Different structure, different pattern, placed perfectly, like it was meant to be overlooked. My stomach tightened. I opened it carefully, and there it was. Not evidence, not proof. A trigger. Something designed to track, to alert, to tell him exactly when and where this USB was opened. I leaned back slowly, and for a moment, I just stared at the screen. Because if I had acted immediately, if I had rushed, he would have known everything, my location, my actions, my next move. And just like that, I understood. This wasn't just revenge for him anymore. This was a game. And he thought he was still winning. I almost laughed, because that was his biggest mistake. He assumed I would react emotionally, that I would rush, that I wouldn't check. But I did. And now I knew exactly how he was thinking, which meant I was already ahead. I didn't delete the file, didn't touch it, didn't even open it again. Instead, isolated it, cut it off from everything else. Then I did something different, something he wouldn't expect. I created a mirror, a controlled environment, a space where that file could activate, without actually reaching me. And then, I let it run. Minutes passed. Then, a signal. Small, but clear. He was watching, waiting. And now, he thought he had me. I leaned back, and smiled. Because this time, I wasn't just reacting. I was controlling the entire board. Now I knew where he was looking from. Not exactly, but close enough. A pattern, a direction, a digital footprint he couldn't fully hide. And that was all I needed. Because once you know where someone is watching from, you can decide what they see. So I gave him something to see. I let certain files appear active. Let the system look exposed. Let it seem like I had taken the bait. And just like I expected, he moved. Faster than before. More aggressive. Because now he thought he had leverage again. But all he was really doing was revealing more. Every move he made left a trace. Every attempt to reach in gave me another piece. Until finally, I had it. The last piece. The one thing I needed to end this completely. I didn't wait anymore. No more testing. No more watching. This time, it was final. I gathered everything. My original files. The evidence. The patterns. His activity. His attempts to track. Everything. Clean. Organized. Undeniable. And instead of sending it quietly like before, I changed the approach. Because this wasn't just about exposure anymore. This was about making sure it could never happen again. I chose the right place, the right channel, the right moment, and then I sent it, not just to one person, not just to a few, but to a place where it couldn't be ignored, where it couldn't be buried, where it couldn't be controlled. This time, he didn't have time to react, because everything hit at once. And just like that, it was over. Not slowly, not quietly, completely. Days passed, then weeks, and for the first time, there was nothing, no messages, no calls, no shadows, just silence, real silence, the kind that doesn't feel heavy, the kind that feels finished. My mom started smiling again, not forced, not careful, real. And me. I finally closed everything, deleted what needed to be deleted, stored what needed to be kept, and let the rest go. Because revenge was never the goal. Control was. And now, there was nothing left to control. One evening, I found myself sitting in my room, looking at the empty desk where everything started. No files, no stress, no plan, just peace. And for a moment, I thought about everything that happened, how close it all came to going wrong, how one mistake could have changed everything. But it didn't, because I didn't rush. I didn't react. I finished it. Properly. And that's when I realized something. The most powerful move isn't the first one. It's the last one. And mine. Made sure there would never be another. Because some stories don't end with revenge. They end with silence. And this one finally did.